Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffe Kennedy, author of epic fantasy romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Delicious. And needed today. Today is Monday. It is February 19th, President's Day here in the U.S. Federal holiday, federal and state. So a 3-day weekend for a lot of people. Uh, I very nearly considered taking it off, except that I did, well, I kind of rested over the weekend. I rested a lot on Saturday. I did not do a hell of a lot. I did go to yoga. I caught up on some financial stuff, but otherwise I kind of hung out. I was just feeling pretty tired on Friday and just took the day off Saturday. And I didn't do a lot of worky work stuff yesterday, but I finished grouting my tiling projects, which is exciting. I'll post one of them as a picture on the show notes. And but that the tiling was done. The tiling had been done for a couple of weeks, and I thought, silly me, that was the hard part. And it was actually the grouting was really hard. Um, I did. I tiled a floor once back in the day um, at the first house that David and I owned together on 6th Street in Laramie, Wyoming. And there was this unfinished basement. And actually, it was funny. It was like you came down the stairs, and there was this unfinished basement with a door to another room ahead, which was actually semi finished. And then there was another door to the coal bin because it was an old house. And so this bin that was full of coal dust, but otherwise empty. And then next to it was a door to like this laundry room storage area and the great big octopus furnace there. And this is more detail than you need, but you get to know. We had made the bedroom, the room, we finished finishing it, and it was my stepson Mike's room for when he was growing up. And later, my stepdaughter Lauren moved down in there, and because there was another bedroom upstairs, but it was kind of like what was supposed to be the dining room. It was not a big house. Uh, and then we converted the coal bin into a writing office for me when I decided to become a writer. And that was interesting because we like had to scrape out all that coal dust, and like they'd used newspaper for insulation in the room. And fortunately, David's very handy that way. But it was a great lesson thinking honorably of my Kennedy grandfather who died of black lung from working in the mines. I was blowing black snot for weeks. Seriously, weeks. It was like in my sinuses. But David helped, showed me how to do everything. We insulated it, we drywalled it, we put in a rug, and it was my office. And it was a great little office. It really worked well. But the point is sort of the ante room there, that where you would come down the stairs and it was open, and then just basically led to these other places, was a nothing room. And I tiled that floor. I laid the tile myself and painted the walls and covered them with shelves for books. And so I called it the library. And it actually worked pretty well. So anyway, I have tiling experience. I do not remember the grouting being that difficult. Of course, I was 25 years younger than I am now. That could be. But yeah, grouting the nicho and the hearts of the two fireplaces. I am so sore today, you all. That's the whole point. It was just a lot of like getting it into all of those crevices and then wiping it up and all of that. I remember doing that tiling project. Maybe it was a different kind of grout, maybe being floor tile or something like that. Anyway, it was a lot of work. So that was like, I had a few other things I was planning to get done yesterday, which I did not. I was like, collapsed. Um, but it was good. I'm enjoying doing these home improvement projects still, and the tile looks great. Everybody's so impressed that I can do this. I think that's funny. Um, so on Friday, how did I do? I did not do monumentally well. I didn't do terrible either. Let's see. It was, what did I get? Oh, well, I was going to say I got almost 1,000 words, but I got 786 words, but they were hard won. It wasn't terrible for the week. I got 6,000 words for the week, still going slowly. I did go talk in my Discord because one of the things that I tried to do there in my mentoring coaching Discord is I am not the rah, everything is perfect kind of coach. I am very much the, yeah, this shit is hard coach. And so I normally do try to keep things upbeat, but I did go in there and say, much as I normally try to be positive, I want to share with you all, the reality that sometimes it sucks. And on Friday, I was feeling like I was hating this book. I just hating it. And it's really, what's the word I want? I want to say like sweet. It's very caring because certain people will say things to me like, they'll try to problem solve. They'll be like, well, is it this about the book, or do you need to do that or the other thing? And And whereas other people, like my assistant, kind of understand that this is a phase I go through. And they'll just be like, oh, yeah, okay, you hate it. Sorry. Talk to me tomorrow, which is really the correct way to talk to a writer who is in the throes of, I hate this book. It's an emotional phase. And maybe a necessary phase sometimes. It doesn't necessarily mean anything at all. So, yeah, I think I've got it at a better place. I got through a critical scene. I did something that I needed to do. It was interesting to share with the writers in my Discord about, that I was having this. We have different channels for things, and we have one for each day of the week, just in case people uh, want to be prompted to communicate. And I put it in Friday Freakout, which I don't think I've ever put anything in there before, but I was freaking out. Um, but yeah, several people said that they appreciated knowing that I go through this, and I know so many writers too. My friends, and we just don't do it publicly, but like my friends will message me and they'll be like, "Oh my God, I hate this book. I think it's terrible." It's a thing. It's a thing we do. So, yeah, it's just been hard to write. And I did, after I put that in the Discord, my assistant Karina's in there too, and she messaged me privately, and she had some really good insight, such good insight that I will share. I just scrolled past her and I gossiping about Joe Alwyn and the Tortured Men's Society. I had sent her a little snippet from a podcast where, analyzing Taylor's love life, because this is so fascinating to us. I'm so embarrassed. Um, but the podcast, very interestingly, was pointing out that the release date for Taylor's new album, The Tortured Poets Society, coincides with significant dates in her relationship with Joe Alwyn. And I just never liked that guy. So I don't adore Travis Kelce, but I think he treats her a lot better than Joe did. So anyway, Karina and I were gossiping about that. As one does. I'm totally responsible for Karina's Taylor Swiftiness. Just saying. So anyway, Corrine said, back to books, she said, as I see it, there's been a lot of people looking and commenting on it while you were only a short way in. And then you wrote other books in between. Sounds like you're not writing just your book, but have tons of other voices whispering stuff about it. And she is 100% correct. Uh, And I looked, and it's just kind of funny how time goes by, and I hadn't realized how much time had gone by. I've actually written 3 books since I started this book. That's amazing, isn't it? I wrote, I started this book, had the draft, sent it off to my agent, just the spec, just beginning. Um, but then I wrote Rogue Familiar and Onira and Twisted Magic, and then came back to this book. So it's 3 books in between, and I just hadn't realized that it had been that many. And then in trying to explain to somebody else, uh, or maybe even here, it had been a long time since I initially had the idea, which can be a good thing to let those ideas percolate. But if I started writing this in the fall of 2022, that's when I started writing it. I had been talking to various friends about it, just brainstorming some ideas in October and November, early November of 2022, and then really buckled down and started writing it post Thanksgiving when I went on that retreat in Kauai. And I thought that I was going to write that book so fast. Ha ha ha. It always seems to be the kiss of death when I think I'm going to write something fast, which is a thing, right? We learned that from various psychological studies, and it's been brought out in a couple of interesting books, including that burnout book I love by the Nagoski sisters, Unlocking the Secrets of the Stress Cycle. That when we think something's going to be easy, then we have certain expectations for how easily we'll complete it, right? That's a tautology. And then when we don't, when it turns out to be more difficult than we anticipated, it causes us stress. So, yeah, it's kind of the kiss of death anytime that I think a book is going to be easy to write. I should just really try not to think that not thinking things is not as easy as saying it. I was giving that advice to someone in my coaching group, where I was able to help her identify why she was feeling a particular way. I said, "Can you identify the fear that's driving this behavior?" And she could. And fortunately, she's a counselor. But I said, "Well, you're a counselor, so that identifying the source of the feeling is a big step. But otherwise, it's up to you. Like maybe some self-talk or some various things that might help her." Uh, I had to pause to regain my train of thought from that digression. So anyway, I started writing it then. I talked to Agent Sarah about the concept in like January of 2022, but I had other things to write, so I didn't get to it till later. And then I had the original idea, the inspiration for it. That's the sound of inspiration hitting. In winter of 2021. So, yeah, Corinne is absolutely right that there have been a lot of interferences, right? Because I did do it on spec. I gave it to Sarah to read, Agent Sarah, and then I have thoughts from her. I have thoughts from editors. I've got a lot of input from people, more so than I normally do, because it was a little bit of a departure for me, and I was getting input on the world building. And it's shaken baby syndrome, right? I talk about this a lot, which I know is a slightly gross, traumatizing metaphor. I apologize for that, but it's such a good one because if you think about the story as being an infant that is not yet strong enough to handle the onslaught of the world. You know, the stuff, the soft spot and the skull, and the baby maybe can't hold their own head up. You don't hand your baby to just anybody. Now, this story wasn't entirely an infant. My story was a young child, let's say a toddler, but I still put this toddler through the rigors that normally I would put a fully formed and revised book through. So it was kind of like maybe we'll scale it up slightly. A 5-year-old? I don't know. Young kid. It was like I sent my toddler to high school. And my toddler did not do well in high school. I mean, I learned a lot about what I needed to teach that kid. But there are ways in which this child is a problem child now. And I'm not going to do this again. I know I've said that before on here, but I'm really just never going to try to sell a book to trad on spec again, because it's ended up taking me so much longer. It feels like a shortcut. Sometimes it is, but other times it's just, it ends up sucking up more time later, right? So this is my lesson learned. The other thing, I mean, I could have done was write this sooner, and maybe that's my fault. I guess I didn't because it was out on sub. So again, I'm coming back to the same conclusion. I'm not going to submit anything to traditional publishing on spec. It's got to be finished. So there we are. I am close. I know I've been saying that for like a couple of weeks now. I still have 17,000 words to go, just over 17,000. But I hope and pray that it will start going faster now. I certainly know which dominoes I'll have to finish falling at this point. So there we have it. Other things I wanted to talk about. You know what I watched the other day, because David put it on, was the movie Longshot with Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron, where it's the unlikely romance where she is running for president and she ends up hiring him as her writer. They've known each other since they were kids, and it is such a great romance. I really enjoyed it the second time. Why don't we talk about that movie more? It's really, I think, because the gender flip doesn't always work for people. We've got the powerful woman, and he is willing to be subordinate to her and to her political goals and so forth. And boy, we just don't celebrate that as much, do we? And I would love to see more of that kind of thing. And I need to catch up on book reviewing. I've just been reading a lot and watching a lot of movies, and not writing this book. Well, I am writing it. I'm just writing it slowly. So on that note, I'm going to go and maybe hopefully write it a little bit faster today. And I will talk to you all on Friday. You all take care. Bye-bye.